If you're watching this, you've probably heard the news. Shock horror, Russell Brand is a womanizer. I mean, this friggin' guy is famous for being a womanizer. He wasn't that funny. He's not that good a musician. He seems quite smart. Really, he's just very talkative. But like what he made his name for was womanizing. That's why he's rare. That's why he stands out. Doesn't stand out for any other reason. Take a look at these couple of clips.
He's a comedian, an actor and a TV presenter with a talent for humour and a thirst for scandal.
Just as well. I mean, controversy is never far from this 33-year-old. He's also a well-known womanizer, a philaholic, a bit of a Don Juan, which is why we sent Sam to meet him. Watch what the newspapers have already dubbed an infamous and intimate encounter.
If you was on telly in my country when I was a teenage boy, it messed me up.
In what way?
I think they're gorgeous.
Oh, thank you, Russell. It's very kind of you.
It ain't kind. It's just a bit rude.
And this one with the aptly named Fifi Box.
Box? Then what is your porn name?
Well, that exactly.
If you start at Fifi Box.
I know. Betty White.
Yeah. Where do you go from Fifi Box?
Okay, guys, we're recording.
In actual fact, Fifi Box and Older Snow would have gone perfectly together when you think about it.
Definitely. Fifi Box and Alder Snow. What an evening they'd have together.
They certainly would.
Plus, they could make an album called Snowbox. And that sounds like a vagina with... I mean, I believe cream pie is the pornographic term.
And then after that interview, if what he was doing was so terrible, you have to explain to me why she chose to do another one of these, and she seemed to bring the flirting up to start with.
So we've got kissing, well, ending up with Kate Moss. That was quite pivotal.
That was pivotal. That was a pivotal point covered there in the book in some detail, Fifi Box.
Yes, and do we know...
So our last interview was unbroadcastable.
It was unbroadcastable, Russell.
It was a YouTube hit. What do you think it was about it that made it such a phenomena for Australian television?
I have vague recollection
What is this connection between us?
of you straddling me and mounting me at some stage. I think you released your spore.
The spores, yes, the heavenly spores.
Yes.
And look at you now, you've really bloomed into this incredible thing. I mean, I'm sure you were beautiful before, but now you're like a phenomenon.
That is so
You're
sweet.
a requiem of physical beauty.
Look at that. And you also mentioned my mother and suggested a possible threesome.
These are the kind of things that come up
and
on
funny.
breakfast telly.
Well, you'll love this. Mum's actually...
I'd posit to you that perhaps the women in these interviews benefited some way from being the female reporter that best had chemistry with and managed to get from Russell Brand that which we all wanted from him, which was something like how to flirt or crossing the line. Yeah, that's it. I think this guy was paid to cross the line, and now we're saying, what, how dare he cross the line? Didn't we ask him to do that?
I guess we're going to start... You got a tissue, where would you like to put it? Can I help you with that?
Should I explain what's on it before I give it to you?
We are a PG time slot, but go for your life.
We don't want another pregnancy on this show.
How do you feel the mother of your child is going with mothering?
That woman, Fifi Box, for me, exemplifies all that is great about Australia. She is fun, she is frivolous, she is beautiful, exuberant, full of life, plucky, can-do spirit. She's unstoppable. I adore her.
Amazing.
That's lovely. I didn't actually expect that answer, Russell.
Why?
No, because you actually are this a beautiful person, and you've been a very dear friend to me. And when people were perpetuating those rumours, I wanted to stand up.
I perpetuated it a bit.
Well, you did.
Before anyone gets technical, yes, I accept that there were some people that were saying, well, I personally never did. Yeah, sure, I never did to it. I find this stuff gross as well, right? But I accept I'm a member of a society, and I accept that the media and everything doesn't sell to me personally, but sells to a section of the population, and a big section of the population it sells to a lot. Let's face it, he was paid to act this way. That's why some people loved him, and that's why he made it to the top of the heap and got some amount of fame. Now, we humans all exist on a sort of bell curve, like our height or something like that. But there's nothing we can do about that. But what about our characters? What if there's a system that says, everybody move this way as much as you can. We're going to put the success line here. If you can't get your character this side of the line, then you're unattractive, or then you're not interesting, or then you're not going to get any followers on Instagram, or that people aren't going to love you, or that you're going to be lonely, or something like that, right? We all know the stats on dating. Most guys, not that they don't want to date, it's that they can't date. It's that females have nominated some sort of cutoff line, which if you're not more attractive than this, you can fuck off. How do we then push the whole of the male population this side of the please be attractive line, but then they nominate another line that says here, you can't be more attractive than this, somehow squeeze yourself between the two lines. And then back in 2012, it would appear that the inappropriate line was here. Trump came along or whatever it was, the line came here, and then Russell Brand now retrospectively seems to have overstepped the line.
Narina Palo, she's there! Look! Oh, Narina, how oft I've rehearsed this moment in my dreams. Usually though in the dreams I'm a bit more like that, I suppose. But the fact that you're here at all is brilliant. That's a nice dress. Do you like gambling?
Now, to the specific allegations against him, I don't know what it was. Whatever happened at a party in a house somewhere, that's not what I'm talking about. That's for the police to find out about, and I'm sure they won't, so nothing will be made of this. But the people that are bringing up like old clips from him and saying, how dare he be that inappropriate in a 2023 context? Dude, it wasn't inappropriate in 2012. In fact, that's why you know the name Russell Brand, was because he was so loved for doing that sort of thing.
With Mila and Carmen, we're going to talk about fashion or something. Right, so listen, come on then, let's talk about this gig you want to promote.
Well, listen, it's been amazing.
Are you wearing any of it?
Yeah, we're both wearing it.
This is the Rosemary.
Nice.
And this is the Candy Mini after Candy Darling.
Oh,
Yeah.
you look ever so nice, the pair of yous.
Thank you.
Why don't you kiss each other? Oh, come on, that was a joke.
What kind of a show is this?
I was ready.
Well, listen, we do kiss in private, but
Yeah.
not for your enjoyment.
Yeah, not for you.
I wouldn't enjoy it. I think I would probably be physically sick.
Now, what makes this all the more infuriating is that Russell Brand is reformed. He used to be like that, and without the government intervening and putting him in prison or anything, he chose to reform on his own. Now, that's fantastic. And now he preaches to a very big audience. Hello, you 3 million lovely, wonderful human beings, as he does. He preaches for other people to reform themselves and find a pathway through to reformation. If we destroy him, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot here.
Lovely to meet you. What are you doing? I just popped in.
Because didn't you, Carol said earlier that she would actually pay Russell for sex?
I did say that. I've come here to discuss a possible price plan.
It's so good to meet you at last.
It's lovely to meet you. It's very nice to be here. I feel like I've been misled by the name of the show slightly. I've been here a minute and no one's done anything remotely loose.
So I'm 44. My heyday was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Perhaps I'm too old, perhaps I don't understand it all. How things worked back then is if you were an average guy, you were unattractive by virtue of being average. You couldn't be average, and I know that's how it still works because you guys talk about it too. What it was required to meet girls was exceptionalism. And it was exceptionalisms in the areas of being arrogant, of being overconfident, of being a good talker, of being witty, of being a little bit invasive, perhaps a smidge controlling, certainly a little bit of machismo here and there, but it was about picking the time to be all those sorts of things in the right context at the right time. I predict that 5% of the population just doesn't understand what I just said, and so I genuinely really angry with Russell Brand. Okay, I hope they take my advice, but they probably won't. Another 5% of the population knows what I know and thinks, well, I have no scruples, I'm going to destroy him anyway because that suits them. But 90% of the population know what I know. We rewarded Russell for years for being the sort of tosser that he was. And he was a tosser. I never liked Russell Brand. I hated him. I really thought he was one of the worst. Like, I couldn't stand him. He's changed a lot now and he's a lot better. But if in one decade we take males and say, you can't date unless you become more confident, more arrogant, more excessive, and then in the next decade say, we're going to break you in half because you're overconfident, because you're arrogant, because you are excessive. And guys should leave that society. That's pathetic. I don't think any of us can survive this. I have to accept that how I dated, that's already been deemed wrong think or unpopular or against the message or whatever. It's not really illegal, but the zeitgeist has moved on from saying that you can cold approach a girl and ask out. Fuck, I did that. Believe me, none of us can survive this, I don't think. That's long enough. I'll wait to see what Russell Brand's allegations are going to be, and if they're too serious, I probably won't comment on them. But nevertheless, I just want to re-emphasize that we're involved in a culture that punishes people for being average and rewards them for being exceptional. When they are exceptional, another generation comes along and says, yes, but that degree of exceptionalism is no longer popular, and then we destroy them. we should leave this society. This is not good enough anymore, and we should rebuild it. Thanks, guys. See you in the next video, and cheers for listening.